Have you noticed how April sneaks in, carrying a paradox we rarely stop to appreciate? For 11 months, we live our lives surrounded by screens, concrete, and deadlines, and then suddenly the Earth decides to remind us who's really in charge. Flowers explode with color. Rivers swell with snowmelt. The sun climbs a little higher in the sky each day, and yet most of us miss it. We're busy scrolling through devices that can connect us instantly across continents, while failing to connect with the tree blooming just outside our window. This is what fascinates me. At the same moment, our civilization can decode the human genome and launch telescopes that see galaxies billions of light years away. Many of us still feel restless, lonely, and oddly detached from the very universe we belong to. That's the paradox of April. It's not just about flowers and rain. It's a reminder, delivered through physics and biology, that life demands participation. Think of it this way. Photons, little packets of light, travel across the vacuum of space for millions of years before colliding with your retina in less than a trillionth of a second. That collision is what allows you to see a sunrise. The universe didn't design that moment just for you, but it's waiting patiently for you to notice. Consider the life cycle of a star. A cloud of gas collapses, gravity does its thing, temperatures soar, fusion ignites, and boom, a star is born. For millions, even billions of years, it burns. Eventually, it will die, maybe in a spectacular explosion, seeding the galaxy with the elements that make life possible. Carbon, oxygen, iron, the very atoms in your body. April is like that cosmic reminder. You too have dormant energy waiting to ignite into something luminous. The challenge isn't just to exist, but to burn brightly while you can. This is the paradox that April presents to us, not merely a month marked by blooming flowers and showers, but a cosmic reminder that life, in its vast complexity, demands more than observation. Il demande participation. Much like photons racing through the vacuum of space, our consciousness navigates an expansive universe of possibilities, sometimes colliding, sometimes scattering, often bending in ways that challenge our understanding of cause and effect. And if we are honest, most of us spend our days as spectators of this unfolding, never realizing that the universe itself is not just around us, it is within us, waiting for recognition, waiting for a renaissance. Now, think about the life of a star. It begins in a nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust, drifting quietly for millions of years. Nothing dramatic at first, just gravity doing its slow, patient work, pulling matter inward. Eventually, the pressure and temperature climb until nuclear fusion ignites, and suddenly, what was once just a cold cloud becomes a blazing beacon visible across space. Every atom in your body, carbon, oxygen, iron, was cooked in a star that lived and died long before Earth even existed. That's not poetry, that's astrophysics. And yet, if you let it, it feels poetic anyway. April is like that. It's the universe nudging you to ignite your own fusion, to stop drifting passively and start shining with the energy that's been sitting inside you all along. The soul, much like the universe, is capable of both chaos and harmony. And often, it is through moments of turbulence, the emotional storms, the quiet crises, the profound questioning, that we are able to synthesize the raw elements of our experiences into wisdom. But what is wisdom, if not the recognition of our cosmic insignificance alongside the acknowledgement of our immense potential? We are born into a universe that spans 93 billion light years in diameter, where each star, each planet, each photon has a story older than human civilization. And yet, here we are, conscious, curious, capable of reflection, capable of action. The juxtaposition is staggering. It is as if the universe has pressed pause on its own unfolding, waiting for us to notice, waiting for us to awaken to the responsibilities that come with consciousness. In April, the world itself becomes an experiment in emergence. Seeds germinate, sap rises, rivers swell with melted snow, the laws of physics orchestrate a choreography older than humanity itself. Yet, we humans are still prone to miss the subtle cues. How many of us have passed beneath a budding tree without feeling the stirrings of gratitude? or paused beside a river to contemplate the inexorable flow of time. And this is precisely where the renaissance of the soul begins, in attention, in presence, in the willingness to notice not only what is spectacular, but what is quietly miraculous. As we awaken in April, there is a call to examine the shadow side of our awakening as well, the negative spaces that give shape to growth. Spiritual and intellectual awakening is rarely linear. In fact, much like a supernova, the processes that ignite transformation often involve destruction. Old beliefs, assumptions, and habitual patterns must collapse, releasing energy into new forms of awareness. And this collapse is uncomfortable, disorienting. We experience isolation, emotional turbulence, and existential questioning. But it is precisely these elements, discomfort, uncertainty, and introspection, that refine the soul's light, just as the pressures of a stellar core forge the elements that eventually seed planets and life. The renaissance of the soul is therefore not a moment of passive enlightenment. It is an active engagement with the self, with society, and with the cosmos. Every thought, every choice, every act of observation is a variable in an equation that spans from the subatomic to the intergalactic. What we decide to notice, what we choose to honor, and what we choose to act upon ripples outward, not unlike gravitational waves propagating through space-time. And here lies the challenge: to awaken without arrogance, to participate in creation without assuming dominion, to recognize that while our individual consciousness is fleeting, its impact is both profound and cumulative. In this context, April becomes both metaphor and teacher. The gentle unfolding of a flower mirrors the patient maturation of our own awareness. The unpredictable storms of spring reflect the emotional volatility inherent in confronting one's deepest truths. The returning light, longer and warmer each day, serves as a cosmic reminder that growth is incremental, that illumination does not arrive all at once, and that persistence is essential. So what does it mean to awaken the soul in April? It means acknowledging the paradoxes, joy alongside suffering, clarity alongside confusion, expansion alongside collapse. It means embracing the responsibility that consciousness affords us, the duty to observe not only the stars above, but the human hearts around us, to seek understanding without judgment, and to act in ways that honor both the self and the collective. And perhaps most importantly, it means daring to ask the questions that have no immediate answers. How do we cultivate wisdom in a society obsessed with speed? How do we foster connection in an age dominated by screens? How do we transform personal insight into meaningful action that reverberates outward, like ripples across the cosmic pond? And in asking these questions, we begin to see the subtle yet profound ways that awakening reshapes not only our inner landscapes, but the external world. Just as the universe evolves through cycles of expansion and contraction, of birth and death, our souls too evolve through cycles of challenge and triumph. And it is in these cycles that the Renaissance unfolds, a Renaissance not imposed by external authorities, but one that emerges organically from the crucible of awareness, attention, and deliberate action. April is, in essence, an invitation to witness the miraculous interplay of physics and biology, to cultivate the same curiosity that drives astronomers to map galaxies and biologists to decode DNA. And in doing so, we participate in a cosmic dialogue, one that recognizes the interdependence of all things, from the smallest quark to the largest nebula, from the whispered thoughts in our minds to the collective pulse of humanity. To awaken in April, then, is not to reach a destination, but to embark on an ongoing journey. It is to see the universe in its full complexity, to understand that human suffering and human potential are intertwined, and to act with compassion, creativity, and courage. It is to recognize that our lives, however brief, are opportunities to participate in the ongoing narrative of existence, to contribute meaningfully to a world that is both fragile and resilient, transient and eternal. Enlightenment isn't about comfort. In fact, the cosmos itself doesn't care what makes us comfortable. Take a black hole. It's not evil. It doesn't lurk in space with malicious intent. It's simply gravity taken to the extreme, so strong that even light The fastest thing in the universe can't get away. A black hole doesn't care if you like it or not. It just island. Awakening works the same way. Once your mind starts pulling in truths about yourself, about society, you can't just unsee them. The gravity of reality is irresistible. And yes, it can feel overwhelming. But that's how progress happens. Astronomers study black holes not because they're comfortable, but because inside that discomfort lies the deepest understanding of space and time. The same is true for us. If we're willing to face the uncomfortable truths, we discover a universe of insight waiting on the other side. We are often unprepared for this. We live in an era where instant gratification has become the default mode of experience. Information flows faster than our capacity to reflect, and yet reflection is precisely what awakening demands. To awaken is to slow down, to resist the seductive simplicity of surface-level understanding, and to embrace the complexity that comes with genuine insight. And this is where many falter, not because awakening is inherently painful, but because it asks of us a discipline that modern life rarely demands. The discipline of sustained attention, of honest self-examination, of unflinching engagement with both the outer and inner universe. Yet, in this struggle, lies the extraordinary beauty of the human experience. Think of the galaxies scattered across the universe, billions of light years apart. Each galaxy is a community of stars, bound by gravity, yet independent in its evolution. And within each galaxy, each star has its own life cycle, its own trajectory, its own story. Our lives are much like these stars, individual, unique, yet part of a vast, interconnected web. Awakening, then, is the realization that while we are singular, we are never truly isolated. Our choices, our actions, our thoughts, they ripple outward, intersecting with others, shaping realities we may never fully perceive. The first negative consequence of awakening is the sudden awareness of isolation. To see the world with clarity is to recognize how often human behavior is guided by habit rather than intention, by inertia rather than insight. Suddenly, many of our relationships, our social structures, even our daily routines appear to be constructs, artificial scaffolding that once provided comfort but now feel confining. And yet, this discomfort is necessary. Just as tectonic plates must shift and grind to reshape the Earth's surface, our consciousness must experience friction to recalibrate, to realign with deeper truths. The second consequence is emotional turbulence. Awakening often dismantles illusions of control. We begin to see ourselves in the larger currents of history, of society, of planetary life, and this awareness can be destabilizing. It is as if we suddenly perceive the wind patterns of a storm while still standing in the open. Anxiety, doubt, existential questioning, all of these become natural companions. But if navigated with patience and curiosity, they can transform into insight, compassion, and resilience. The third consequence is the recognition of responsibility. Knowledge carries weight. To understand the interdependence of all life, to grasp the fragility of ecosystems, the interconnectedness of human societies, the delicacy of planetary balance, these realizations cannot be ignored. Awakening is not an excuse for inaction. It is a call to meaningful action. In a universe governed by physical laws, cause and effect are inescapable. Similarly, in life, awareness creates obligations. The more clearly we perceive, the more accountable we become to ourselves, to others, to the world. The fourth consequence is disillusionment. As our understanding deepens, we may perceive contradictions, hypocrisies, and failures in the institutions, ideologies, and narratives we once held dear. This can be profoundly unsettling. Yet, it is also a necessary step toward authenticity. Just as astronomers refine their models of the cosmos when new data challenges old assumptions, we too must refine our understanding of the world and our place within it. Disillusionment is not the destruction of meaning, it is the clearing of space for a more truthful, more resilient sense of purpose. The fifth consequence, perhaps the most subtle and profound, is the encounter with mortality, not only our own, but that of ideas, relationships, and entire civilizations. Cosmic perspective reminds us that everything is transient. Stars are born and die, galaxies collide and transform. Life itself is but a fleeting spark in a universe of almost unimaginable scale. Awakening confronts us with impermanence, and yet, paradoxically, it can also inspire profound reverence for the present moment. To awaken is to see life as finite and therefore precious. To recognize that every action, every choice, every act of kindness or creativity carries weight in the tapestry of existence. Yet, after navigating these challenges, a profound shift occurs. One begins to recognize that the turbulence is not an obstacle, but a catalyst. Isolation teaches empathy. Turbulence teaches resilience. Responsibility cultivates integrity. Disillusionment fosters discernment. Awareness of mortality ignites gratitude. In confronting the difficult aspects of awakening, we discover the elements necessary for the renaissance of the soul: presence, curiosity, courage, and compassion. And so, as April unfolds, we come to see that awakening is not a singular event. It is a process, a journey, a cosmic dance of light and shadow, of contraction and expansion. It is the recognition that life, in all its complexity, is an experiment in consciousness, and that we are both participants and observers. Our lives, like stars, burn brightly for a moment, contributing energy, light, and warmth to the fabric of existence. And in this recognition lies both humility and empowerment. We are small, yet significant, fleeting, yet capable of creating lasting impact. April is the teacher, the mirror, the laboratory in which this awakening takes place. Its showers cleanse, its blooms inspire, its light illuminates. And in responding to its call, by observing deeply, acting responsibly, and connecting authentically, we participate in something far greater than ourselves. We awaken not only to the beauty of the world, but to the potential within us to shape it, to honor it, to steward it with wisdom and care. So as we stand beneath the budding branches, as we feel the warmth of returning sunlight, let us remember, the universe has given us consciousness, not merely to marvel, but to act. Each thought, each choice, each moment of presence is a spark in the vast cosmic web. And when multiplied across humanity, these sparks can ignite a renaissance, not of art or science alone, but of the soul itself, a collective awakening to the responsibilities, the possibilities, and the wonders of being alive in a universe that is at once indifferent and deeply hospitable to our curiosity. In the words of Carl Sagan, we are made of star stuff. And yet, it is not enough to know this intellectually. We must live it, feel it, and let it guide our actions. April reminds us that the soul's renaissance is ongoing, that the universe's story is intertwined with our own, and that our brief lives are an opportunity to illuminate, to create, and to care. To awaken is to engage fully with the cosmos, with society, and with oneself, to become both observer and participant, student and teacher, thinker and doer. And in this awakening, paradoxically, we find our place. Small, yes, but luminous, fleeting, yet impactful, solitary, yet deeply interconnected. April is not just a month. It is a mirror, a laboratory, a portal. And as we step through it consciously, we do not merely witness the renaissance of our own souls, we contribute to the unfolding story of life itself. Because to awaken is not to escape the world. It is to inhabit it more fully, to embrace its paradoxes, and to act with intention, courage, and compassion. And in doing so, we become part of something infinite, eternal, and profoundly meaningful, a cosmic dance of matter, energy, and consciousness in which each of us plays a role, however small, however fleeting, however luminous. And yet, even as we navigate these inner galaxies of thought and feeling, we must not forget that awakening is not a solitary voyage, it is a communal experiment. Just as the cosmos itself is defined by networks of gravitational interaction, by unseen forces that shape galaxies across millions of light years, so too are we bound to one another in invisible ways. Every choice we make, whether to act with compassion, to speak with honesty, to engage with curiosity, sets off ripples that reach far beyond our immediate perception. Consider the photons emitted by distant stars. Some have traveled billions of years, passing through cosmic dust, warped by the gravity of unseen masses, only to reach our eyes as points of light. Each photon tells a story of time and space, of energy and transformation. Our actions are like those photons. They move through networks of influence and consequence, sometimes taking decades, even lifetimes, to reveal their impact. And yet, just as we cherish the faint glimmer of starlight, so too must we recognize the importance of small acts, small awakenings, small choices. They accumulate, they converge, they shape the universe in subtle, profound ways. As we awaken, we begin to perceive the layers of reality that we once ignored. The hum of ecosystems, the pulse of human societies, the ceaseless churn of ideas, everything vibrates with energy, with potential, with consequence. And with this perception comes responsibility. Not the kind that is dictated by rules or external authority, but the kind that emerges from understanding. The kind that recognizes that knowledge without action is like a telescope left untrained on the night sky, its potential immense, yet its contribution null. It is here that the final stages of awakening crystallize into what I would call conscious stewardship. Because to awaken fully is to see the fragility of life, the elegance of the cosmos, and the interconnectedness of all things, and to act in accordance with that vision. It is not about spiritual superiority or escaping the messiness of reality. It is about participating in the unfolding story with intention, humility, and courage. And let us be honest, this is difficult. It is easier, of course, to ignore the suffering of others, to indulge in distraction, to succumb to inertia. Our evolutionary wiring, honed over millennia for survival in small tribes, often resists the scale and complexity of modern interconnected life. Yet, awakening demands that we stretch beyond those instincts, that we think beyond the individual, the local, the immediate. It asks us to consider the fate of oceans, forests, cities, and civilization systems far larger than ourselves, yet intimately tied to our choices. Here, we encounter a paradox that mirrors the universe itself. Our lives are both fleeting and significant. The human lifespan is but a fraction of cosmic time, a flicker in the lifespan of stars. And yet, within that brief span, we possess the capacity to influence the course of life, to shift perspectives, to ignite movements, to create legacies of knowledge, compassion, and beauty. The universe does not demand it, but neither is it indifferent to it. Just as a single star can illuminate the darkness of interstellar space, a single conscious life can illuminate the path for countless others. April, then, becomes more than a season. It becomes a metaphor for the cyclical process of awakening. Its rains cleanse, its buds bloom, its days lengthen, yet all of these natural processes are neither forced nor guaranteed. They unfold according to the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology, and yet they are deeply beautiful in their resilience and inevitability. In the same way, our spiritual and intellectual awakenings are not miraculous escapes from reality. They are processes rooted in discipline, observation, reflection, and action. We awaken by noticing, by questioning, by connecting. We awaken by daring to sit with discomfort, to confront complexity, to embrace uncertainty. And we awaken by recognizing that our lives are not isolated. They are threads in a vast cosmic web, interwoven with every other being, every ecosystem, every star. So what does this mean practically for the individual? It means cultivating presence, the ability to witness life fully without denial or distortion. It means embracing responsibility, the recognition that every thought and action reverberates through the social and natural world. It means choosing empathy over indifference, curiosity over complacency, courage over fear. And it means acknowledging that the process of awakening is ongoing, a lifetime commitment rather than a single revelation. And yet, even as we engage with this process, we must also celebrate it. There is joy in discovery, in insight, in connection. There is a profound exhilaration in realizing that, as Carl Sagan once said, we are star stuff contemplating the stars. That we can study, understand, and marvel at the cosmos, while simultaneously reflecting upon ourselves. That our consciousness, fleeting though it may be, is capable of glimpsing eternity, of holding wonder and responsibility in the same moment. As we conclude this reflection, consider this: the universe is vast, indifferent, and awe-inspiring. Human life is brief, fragile, and complex. And yet, within this fragile existence, we hold the capacity to awaken, to understand, to act. We are both observers and participants, students and teachers, transient sparks of light in a dark sea, capable of illuminating the path forward for ourselves and others. April teaches us that renewal is possible, that growth is continuous, that the soul's renaissance is always available to those who choose awareness over apathy, connection over isolation, action over inertia. It teaches us that awakening is not about escaping the world, but inhabiting it more fully with clarity, integrity, and compassion. And so, as you move forward, carry this perspective with you, that your consciousness is a gift, your actions are meaningful, and your capacity to contribute to the well-being of others, to the preservation of the planet, to the enrichment of human understanding, is real and consequential. The universe is indifferent, yes, but it is also generous. It gives us the tools to perceive, to learn, to grow, and to act. And in this paradox lies the beauty of our existence: fleeting, fragile, finite, yet capable of meaning, capable of wonder, capable of awakening. So look up, look inward, look around, observe, reflect, act, and in doing so, participate in the renaissance of the soul, a personal and collective awakening that honors the cosmic, the human, and the life that connects us all. Because in the end, the universe does not need us to awaken, but we need the universe to remind us of what it means to truly live. And yet, even as we marvel at the scale of the universe, we must not let its enormity paralyze us. There is a temptation in contemplating billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, to feel insignificant, to whisper, what difference does one life, one choice, one consciousness make? But here is the cosmic joke. In a universe so vast, every act of understanding, every decision rooted in care, every attempt to awaken is both infinitesimal and profound, because meaning is not imposed from the cosmos. It is generated from within by beings capable of reflection, choice, and connection. When we awaken, we begin to notice the invisible threads. We see the interdependence of systems, the forests that filter our air, the oceans that regulate our climate, the neurons firing within our own minds that allow thought and empathy. We perceive the consequences of our inattention and, importantly, the possibilities of our intentionality. Just as gravity binds galaxies together, so too does our awareness bind us to one another. The laws of physics do not dictate morality, but the patterns of existence whisper that nothing exists in isolation. This is why awakening can be unsettling. To perceive the interconnectedness of life is to recognize the weight of responsibility. We are not merely spectators, we are participants. Every choice, no matter how small, ripples outward. A kind word, a thoughtful action, a moment of empathy, these are not insignificant. They are, in the grand scheme of the cosmos, like tiny bursts of starlight piercing the vast darkness. And in a universe indifferent to our presence, this light is remarkable precisely because we choose to emit it. Consider the stars themselves. They are born, they shine, they die. They are chaotic, violent, yet stunningly beautiful. We humans, in our brief lifetimes, mirror this cosmic drama. Our awakenings, our growth, our failures and triumphs, they are all part of an unfolding story, a narrative in which we are both author and character. And just as no star shines in isolation, its light influenced by neighboring stars, by gravitational pulls, by cosmic dust, no awakening exists in isolation. Each of us is part of a web, a continuum of influence stretching across time, culture, and space. And here lies the ultimate lesson of awakening. It is not an escape from reality, nor a retreat into abstract idealism. It is an invitation to see clearly, to act responsibly, and to participate fully. The universe does not need our moral compass, but life does. Our communities, our planet, our shared consciousness, their flourishing depends upon our engagement. To awaken is to recognize that we are stewards, not masters, of our world. Yet, even as we speak of responsibility, there is humor in our cosmic circumstance. We are stardust, contemplating stardust, seeking meaning in the silence between the stars. And perhaps that is precisely why awakening is so human. It is the audacity to seek connection, purpose, and understanding in a universe that is vast, indifferent, and spectacularly complex. There is humility in that recognition, but also an exhilarating freedom. Because if the universe does not impose meaning, then the meaning we create is ours alone, unique, deliberate, and powerful. So as April awakens the natural world, the buds, the rains, the longer days, it reminds us that renewal is always possible. And so too does it remind us that awakening is a continuous process. The soul's renaissance is not a single moment, a sudden epiphany. It is iterative, incremental, and sometimes uncomfortable. It requires observation, reflection, and courage. It demands that we face the parts of ourselves and our society that we would rather ignore. And yet, in doing so, it opens us to wonder, to connection, to responsibility, and ultimately to action. And what, then, is the purpose of this awakening? It is not fame, it is not power, it is not escape, it is presence. To be awake is to be fully present, fully engaged, fully accountable for the fleeting yet profound gift of consciousness. It is to recognize that the universe, for all its indifference, has provided us with tools, with intellect, with imagination, with empathy to see, to understand, to influence. And that recognition is both a privilege and a call to action. So, as we stand at the intersection of the microcosm of our individual lives and the macrocosm of the universe, let us not shrink from the responsibility. Let us not be paralyzed by the enormity of existence. Let us instead take inspiration from the stars, born from chaos, bound by physics, shining with an intensity that can be seen across unimaginable distances. Let us shine in our own lives, in our own time, and in our own ways. Awakening, ultimately, is a choice, a decision to perceive, to care, and to act. It is the choice to cultivate empathy in a world that often encourages indifference. It is the choice to nurture knowledge in a world awash with distraction. It is the choice to be a force for growth, connection, and understanding. And perhaps most importantly, it is the recognition that though we are small, our capacity to impact the world like the light of a single star can stretch farther than we imagine. And so, as April unfolds its promise of renewal, may we too embrace the awakening of our consciousness. May we see the universe not as an indifferent void, but as a mirror reflecting our potential. May we act with intention, live with awareness, and connect with others with genuine care. And may we remember that in the vast, indifferent cosmos, the light we emit through kindness, curiosity, responsibility, and love is what makes existence not only bearable, but profoundly meaningful. Because we are stardust contemplating the stars. And in contemplating and acting and awakening, we participate in the ongoing story of the universe. A story that, in the end, is made all the richer by our presence, our choices, and our awareness. And yet, there's another paradox we must confront. The very technologies that allow us to probe the depths of space, to analyze the birth of stars and the echoes of the Big Bang, have not automatically given us the wisdom to live well on Earth. We send probes to Mars, yet struggle to keep our oceans clean. We measure gravitational waves, yet often fail to measure our own impulses toward empathy. In this sense, the awakening of consciousness, the personal renaissance of the soul, is not unlike the exploration of the cosmos. Vast, infinite, and, at times, overwhelming. Consider this. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a star. Literally. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon that forms the backbone of life itself, all of it originates from stellar furnaces that died billions of years ago. And yet, here we are, thinking we are disconnected from those processes. We look at the night sky, see pinpoints of light, and often fail to see ourselves reflected there. Spiritual awakening, at its core, is this recognition, the cosmic fact that you are both infinitesimal and integral. That in understanding the universe, you also begin to understand your place in it. But awakening is rarely comfortable. Like the first photons escaping a collapsing star, enlightenment bursts through our psyche, illuminating corners we have long avoided. And in that light, we see not only possibility, but responsibility. Isolation becomes apparent as we start questioning norms, beliefs, and the frameworks that once provided comfort. Emotional turbulence arises because the mind is expanding faster than the heart has learned to accommodate. Relationships strain as friends and family struggle to understand the new dimensions of our awareness, and disorientation sets in as the foundations of self, identity, and meaning are re-examined under the glare of cosmic perspective. Yet, these challenges, as daunting as they may seem, are the very fabric of growth. Just as a supernova explodes violently before creating new stars, our inner upheaval is the precursor to a more luminous state of being. And here lies the key. Awakening is not a passive state. It is not a mystical escape from reality. It is a call to action, a recognition that knowledge, insight, and awareness carry with them a moral imperative. Just as the universe follows laws, patterns, and dynamics that shape its evolution, so too does our awakened consciousness demand that we act in alignment with the broader web of life. We are, in every sense, participants in an unfolding cosmic narrative. Every choice we make echoes outward. How we treat the planet, how we nurture relationships, how we cultivate understanding. There is a certain humility required here, the humility to recognize that we are small, that the universe is vast, that our individual time is fleeting. But there is also an extraordinary empowerment, because if our consciousness is capable of observing, reflecting, and learning, it is also capable of influencing, of creating, and of transforming. And so, the final challenge of awakening is not merely understanding, it is integration. It is weaving the insights, epiphanies, and revelations into daily life. It is translating cosmic awareness into human action. It is seeing that your life, fleeting though it may be, is not insignificant. That your ability to care, to act responsibly, and to connect deeply with others is in fact the mechanism by which meaning is created in an otherwise indifferent universe. As April awakens the Earth, bringing new life, new growth, and renewed possibility, let it remind us of the continuous nature of awakening. It is iterative, it is gradual, it is persistent. Just as the planets orbit in predictable rhythms, just as the stars undergo cycles of birth and death, our inner growth unfolds in patterns, both subtle and profound. And as in the cosmos, the process is beautiful, not because it is easy, but because it is real. So what then is our responsibility? It is simple, yet profound. To live consciously, to act intentionally, and to connect meaningfully. To recognize that the universe, for all its vastness, has entrusted us with awareness, curiosity, and empathy, and that these tools are our instruments for shaping life on Earth. To know that while we may be stardust, the light we emit, the choices we make, the kindness we show, the understanding we cultivate is what makes our presence in this universe remarkable. And as we step into this realization, as we embrace the journey of awakening, let us do so with humility and with joy. Let us marvel at the enormity of existence and at the same time embrace the power we have to influence it. Let us remember that while we are finite, our capacity to affect others, to nurture growth, and to create meaning is infinite in potential. Because awakening is not a destination. It is a trajectory. It is a trajectory that arcs from ignorance to understanding, from isolation to connection, from fear to responsibility. And in that trajectory lies hope, the hope that even in a universe indifferent to our existence, our actions, guided by consciousness and compassion, can illuminate the darkness. So, as April unfolds, as life blooms and the Earth reawakens, may we too awaken. May we see the universe not only in its enormity, but as a reflection of our own capacity. May we act not with fear, but with responsibility. May we connect not out of necessity, but out of understanding. And may we remember that in the vast silent theater of the cosmos, the light we choose to shine through thought, through action, through love is the only true legacy we can leave. And when you look up at the night sky tonight, remember this: the stars you see are ancient, indifferent, magnificent, but here you are, conscious, aware, capable, alive. And in your awareness lies the possibility of awakening, of renewal, of meaningful action. That is the human miracle. That is the cosmic gift. That is the soul's renaissance. And yet, there is a tension, we must acknowledge, a tension between knowledge and action, between awareness and responsibility. To awaken is to confront truths that are uncomfortable, that the earth is warming, that inequality persists, that time is finite, and that our choices, no matter how small, ripple outward. Awareness, in its purest form, is never neutral. Like observing the acceleration of galaxies, it demands attention. And with attention comes the gravity of responsibility. Think about the cosmic timeline. From the Big Bang to now 13.8 billion years, life has emerged, evolved, and persisted against immense odds. Entire species have risen and fallen, continents have drifted and collided, stars have been born and extinguished. And yet, here we are, human consciousness, capable of not only observing the universe, but reflecting upon it, questioning it, and influencing it. It is the rarest of phenomena, a spark in the void, and like any spark, it has the potential to illuminate or to fade unnoticed. Spiritual awakening mirrors this cosmic process. There is an initial burst, a flare of insight that illuminates the mind. Suddenly, what once seemed insignificant, your habits, your relationships, your impact on the world becomes impossible to ignore. This flare can be blinding. It exposes both beauty and imperfection. You may see patterns you never noticed, truths that were uncomfortable, illusions that once comforted you, and in this sudden illumination, disorientation is natural. Like the universe itself, you are expanding, and expansion is never without tension. This is why awakening carries its paradoxical consequences. Emotional turbulence arises because the mind is stretching faster than the heart can adjust. Relationships are tested because not everyone is ready to navigate the new dimensions of your awareness. Isolation appears because the comfort of old assumptions no longer suffices. And yet within this turbulence lies profound opportunity. Like matter collapsing into a star, pressure and heat produce light, energy, and life. As we navigate this inner cosmos, there emerges a subtle, humbling realization: you are both infinitesimal and infinite. You are a tiny speck in a vast universe, yet your capacity for empathy, understanding, and action connects you to everything. Every act of kindness, every choice to learn, every effort to engage meaningfully radiates outward, subtly reshaping the fabric of the world. Like gravity, you may be small, but you influence trajectories in ways unseen. This is where science meets philosophy. Just as astrophysicists study the cosmos to uncover the laws that govern it, awakening teaches us to study the inner universe, the landscapes of thought, the constellations of belief, the gravitational pull of desire and fear. And just as knowledge of the cosmos carries with it the responsibility to act ethically, how we impact Earth, how we explore space, so too does self-awareness demand responsibility. It is not enough to observe, we must integrate, we must act. Imagine for a moment that consciousness is like a star. It begins as a cloud of gas and dust potential, unformed, waiting. Ignition occurs when conditions align, when pressures and temperatures reach a threshold, and suddenly, light bursts forth. That is awakening. But a star does not exist for its own illumination alone. It radiates, it nurtures surrounding planets, it eventually collapses and seeds new systems. Consciousness, similarly, is meaningful not only for itself, but for how it interacts with others, how it shapes the world around it, and how it leaves a legacy of insight, compassion, and action. And here lies the profound message. Awakening is not a solitary achievement, it is a trajectory toward connection, toward understanding that the universe does not exist apart from you, and you do not exist apart from it. Every thought, every action, every choice reverberates through the web of life. And recognizing this interconnectedness is not meant to overwhelm, it is meant to empower. It is a reminder that even in a universe indifferent to your existence, the decisions you make, the light you emit, and the understanding you cultivate have consequence. So what, then, is the task of the awakened mind? It is simple yet challenging: to live consciously, to act with intention, to engage with the world meaningfully, to use the insight you have gained to foster growth, compassion, and understanding, to see that your life, fleeting though it may be, is a singular opportunity to influence the universe in a positive way, and to accept that this responsibility, though sometimes heavy, is the very source of freedom and fulfillment. As we stand in the glow of April's renewal, the earth blooming, life emerging from dormancy, let it remind us that awakening is cyclical, iterative, and ever-evolving. Just as seasons change, stars cycle through life and death, and galaxies collide and reform. Our consciousness expands, contracts, and deepens. Growth is never linear. Understanding is never complete. And the journey of awakening is never over. And in that endless journey, there is hope. Hope born not of naivety, but of clarity. Hope grounded in the recognition that we are capable of profound change, capable of shaping lives, shaping communities, shaping the trajectory of our shared planet. Like the light of distant stars traveling billions of years to reach us, our actions, though seemingly small, traverse time and space in ways we may never fully perceive. So, look up at the night sky tonight. See the stars as they are, magnificent, ancient, indifferent, and yet recognize yourself within that vastness. You are stardust, yes, but conscious stardust. A spark capable of thought, reflection, and intentional action. And the light you choose to shine, the empathy you extend, the understanding you cultivate, the love you offer is the legacy that endures. Awakening is not a destination. It is a trajectory that arcs from ignorance to understanding, from isolation to connection, from fear to responsibility. And in that arc lies the most profound human opportunity: to act in harmony with the universe, to nurture life, to leave a positive imprint. And so, as April awakens the earth, let us awaken ourselves. Let us see the universe not only in its enormity, but in its reflection of our potential. Let us act not out of fear, but out of responsibility. Let us connect not out of necessity, but out of understanding. And let us remember, though we are fleeting, our awareness, our compassion, and our choices have the power to illuminate the universe in ways that transcend time, space, and mortality. This is the human miracle. This is the cosmic gift. This is the soul's renaissance. And it begins not in the heavens, but in you. So, when you step outside tonight, and you see the stars, tiny points of light scattered across the vast canvas of the universe, remember this: each one of them is a story billions of years in the making. They burned, they lived, and many of them died to seed the elements that now flow through your body. You are literally made of stardust. And yet, knowing this is not enough, to truly grasp the magnitude of your existence, you must also recognize the responsibility it carries. The same universe that created you, the same cosmos that is indifferent to your presence, has given you consciousness, curiosity, and the capacity to act. It is up to you to use it wisely. Our lives are brief, yes, but they are also luminous. Every choice, every act of understanding, every small moment of connection echoes outward in ways we can't always measure. You might think of it as a kind of cosmic footprint, imperceptible to the naked eye, but undeniable in its effect. So look up, wonder, ask questions, challenge assumptions, seek truth wherever it may hide, but most importantly, act, because the universe will not wait, and neither should we. In the end, the stars are not just distant fires in the night sky, they are mirrors. They reflect our potential, our curiosity, and our capacity to illuminate the world around us. And maybe, just maybe, if we embrace that potential, we will leave the universe a little brighter than we found it. And that is a good way to spend a lifetime